Well, hello there, my fellow Doombots and Liberian citizens, and today I want to talk about how the MCU doomed itself. We all remember it like the days of yesterday, when the MCU was at its peak. From the release of Avengers that came out in 2012, the ground for the Infinity Saga, a set of movies that changed the landscape of cinema. Some people like Martin Scorsese have even said that it has ruined cinema. I disagree with that point, but I do agree that at a certain point Marvel shot themselves in the foot, actually doomed themselves. So we all know that the casting of Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom was very controversial. Myself, I'm a big advocate for it. I think it's very interesting and I think that it can work if it is done rightly, but I do understand for a lot of comic book purists that it is straight up blasphemy. But let's start at the beginning. This is the very first year that Kevin Feige actually lost to DC, and this actually all started because Marvel and Disney lost one of their greatest assets, who was James Gunn, who actually was the person responsible for writing the entire Infinity Saga and was tasked by Kevin Feige himself to be the overseer, one of his right-hand man when it came to the intergalactic side of the MCU. Because James Gunn got fired from Guardians of the Galaxy over some old tweets, I don't even know exactly what they were talking about, but he was supposedly being edgy or whatever. DC got a chance to work with James Gunn, and let me tell you, they took the most out of it because they made him the director of DC Studios. One of the results of this is that in 2025, James Gunn handed Kevin Feige his first L by for the first time outgrossing every single Marvel movie in the year, both globally and domestically, with Superman. DC's Superman movie made $614 million, outgrossing Marvel's Fantastic Four by $100 million. And one of the reasons for this is the lack of cohesion in the MCU and the lack of structure. We all remember the Infinity Saga. We all remember all of those Avengers movies and how together they all formed a cohesive story. Even though there are a couple of duds in the first lineup of MCU movies, overall these were straight up bangers. Iron Man 2, Thor, Captain America, Avengers, Iron Man 3, Thor, The Dark World. That's a little bit of a bummer. But then you got Captain America, The Winter Soldier, one of the best comic book movies of all time. Guardians of the Galaxy, in my opinion, the best comic book movie, MCU movie of all time. Avengers, Age of Ultron, which I think ages better every year. Ant-Man, yeah, a fun surprise. You got Civil War. This is one of the greatest comic book movies of all time. Doctor Strange, another banger. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 was great. Thor Ragnarok is awesome. Black Panther, a freaking classic. And then of course, you got Infinity War, Ant-Man and the Wasp, which was okay. Captain Marvel, which I actually enjoy. And then you got Avengers Endgame that tied it all up in a nice little bow. But together, all of these movies, they felt like a cohesive universe. But after this is when the MCU went downhill. In Phase 5, you had Black Widow, a movie which, to be honest, I don't really care for. They got Falcon and the Winter Soldier, an okay series, but if you look at it closely, it really falls apart. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. This movie is a real good film, and I think it's really good that they still kept the director of this, Daniel Dayton Cretton, to direct Spider-Man. The Eternals, a movie that literally bombed. WandaVision, which was enjoyable, but it just felt like homework to most people. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, a film that has been memed on, but I love this movie because it has a scene in it where Reed Richards gets killed by Wanda Maximoff. Then you got Loki, which in my opinion doesn't really represent the character of Loki, and it also felt like homework to a bunch of people. Hawkeye I did enjoy, but once again, most casual viewers will not watch shows. What If is a show that I totally cannot get into, and in my opinion, everything that I've seen has just been a waste. Thor: Love and Thunder is a film that I do enjoy, but at the same time, the critical views on the movie are 100% valid because they fully wasted Christian Bale. Then you go to Phase 5. And Phase 5 is where it totally goes off the wagon. Even though I enjoy Quantumania because it feels like Spy Kids, people are super valid in saying that the movie is trash. Then you got Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This film was awesome, but after this, straight away DC snatched up James Gunn and they made him the head of their movie studio. Secret Invasion, something that I will not get anywhere near to because this just freaking stinks. Loki season 2, I watched it, it was fine, but once again, it just felt like homework. I Am Groot was just some fun little shorts. The Marvels was one of the most horrible things I've ever seen. What If season 2? What if I never watch it? That's probably what's gonna happen. Echo, who cares? X-Men 97, that was kind of classic, but once again, casual viewers will not be watching that. Agatha All Along is one of the best comic book shows of all time, in my opinion. I love this show and I made a bunch of breakdowns for it, but once again, casual viewing audiences will not be watching Agatha All Along. Deadpool Wolverine is something that I love. This is one of the best MCU movies in my opinion, and I love that they brought back Hugh Jackman, and I hope we're also going to see Hugh Jackman in the next movie, Avengers Doomsday. Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, it was okay, it was fine, but it wasn't the best thing ever. Once again, casual audience will not see it. They have Daredevil Born Again, a series that even though I enjoyed it, it totally flopped and nobody went to go see it. The critics on it were pretty harsh on it, and I have to agree on some points that the characterizations, particularly of Kingpin, just didn't really fit in line with the original Netflix series. Then you got Captain America Brave New World that bombed at the box office. Even though I enjoyed it and I love the Hulk fight scene at the end, I understand that most people were not interested in it because it was Captain America 4 and didn't have Steve Rogers. Even though Sam Wilson did deserve to take over the mantle, I understand why most people were not interested in it. And I must agree that the movie at some points looked a little bit cheap. Thunderbolts, a movie that was awesome, but it was totally based on characters that were introduced in Disney Plus shows. And then you got Ironheart, a series so bad, refused to make videos on it because I watched it and I just felt depressed while watching it. I do have to say that the Sacha Baron Cohen, the only scene I want to see with Mephisto is where Doctor Doom bitch slaps that mofo, okay? Then the worst thing about Phase 5 is the fact that their main bad guy, Kang the Conqueror, played by Jonathan Majors, the lead actor who was playing Kang, got cancelled because of some domestic issues. I don't want to go into too much details because I'm not very interested in that, but it has to be said that Marvel Studios had to totally pivot from here, because I have to agree with most of the critics that they were focusing too much on quantity instead of on quality, and that just ruined the MCU for most people, and I have to agree with that. I know I've been being a Debbie Downer, a Debbie Doomer. I still think that Marvel can get out of this rut by getting Doom. The overall lineup for the next phase of the MCU looks like straight up bangers, except for Eyes of Wakanda and Wonder Man. Everything on here looks really freaking sick. Fantastic Four First Steps movie was a piece of propaganda. I still like the way it portrayed its main characters because it made Reed Richards very unlikable, and it had the best post-credit scene of all time showing Doctor Doom. Marvel Zombies is something that is semi-interesting, but I'm not too interested. The only Disney Plus special I care about is the Punisher special with Jon Bernthal, who said that this will be R-rated Punisher, and I cannot wait. Speaking about Punisher, he will also be showing up in Brand New Day, so I cannot wait to see Jon Bernthal versus Tom Holland in that movie. Vision Quest, I'm not a big fan of all of these shows here, except for Punisher and Daredevil Born Again. I did enjoy it actually, but if you look at the movies, you got Fantastic Four, you got Spider-Man Brand New Day, then you got Avengers Doomsday, and then you got Secret Wars. I know there will probably be a project between Secret Wars and Avengers Doomsday, but when I'm looking at this right now, I think that I'm cautiously optimistic. I really do think that getting Robert Downey Jr. back as Doctor Doom was the right choice. just because you can tie it back to the Infinity Saga, and also because Robert Downey Jr. is just an amazing actor, one of the best actors of all time, and I think that he can do a very good version of Doctor Doom. By the way, I do not think that this Doctor Doom will be a variant of Tony Stark, but rather that the Tony Stark we have been seeing in the MCU is a variant of Doctor Doom. Maybe they'll play into that, maybe not, but if they not even say, they have to address it some way, but even if they don't, I'm very excited to see what they'll do. Spider-Man Brand New Day, I cannot wait to watch that movie, and Avengers Doomsday is just awesome in my opinion. First of all, it's called Avengers Doomsday. Doomsday is my favorite MF Doom song of all time. It's just an amazing title for a movie. I really hope that the title track of this film is Doomsday by MF Doom. Second of all, bringing back Robert Downey Jr., the man who's literally started the MCU with Iron Man to finish it and reboot it, because I do think that after Avengers Doomsday, we're going to Secret Wars that will take place on Battleworld, which is basically an amalgamation of every single MCU storyline, comic book movie, all into one world, and then the good stuff will transfer over afterwards, and then we can get another version of Doom. I understand to the comic book loyalists that you would rather have a good version of Doom right now, but this is sadly how the industry works. It's also about money, and Disney is clearly worried about money, because for the first time they actually got beat by Warner Brothers at the box office at 2025. So bringing back a certified cash cow like Robert Downey Jr. is the best way to win back the box office. And I do think that if this movie is successful, then people will be asking for a better version of Doom, or at least they'll be asking for a more comic book version of Doom in the next version of the MCU. I'm very optimistic, cautiously optimistic, but I'm still pretty hyped. I cannot wait to sit down in the theater seats and watch Avengers Doomsday on the big screen. That is really what I'm waiting for. Also, the new Spider-Man movie. Before I end this video, I quickly want to address the critiques that people have had on the multiverse saga, just by saying that by introducing all of these older characters and all of these cameos, that is just useless. But I tend to disagree with this actually. The reason why is because Kevin Feige, if you didn't know this, has been producing all of these superhero movies that you know and love, from the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies to X-Men movies. He's worked on the Fantastic Four movies, if I'm not mistaken, and him bringing all of these storylines back into this MCU, he's tying everything together, so he's making it one cohesive universe. Yes, of course, it hasn't been done the best way possible, but for me, as somebody who has been watching this the whole time, I think that it is actually something that I can command. And I do think that Kevin Feige knows what he is doing, because he's also bringing back almost all of these cameo Easter eggs, people back for Avengers Doomsday, talking about the original X-Men cast. We'll probably see Jessica Alba or the original Mr. Fantastic back in Avengers Doomsday or Secret Wars, maybe even Miles Teller as the Maker. I do think that Kevin Feige has a grand plan, and it will be all paid off, and after Secret Wars and Avengers Doomsday we'll get a new continuity, and then he can let all of that go. But as somebody like Kevin Feige who loves the comic book movies genre, I do think that we have to cut him some slack sometimes. I'm overall very excited for the state of the MCU and the DCU. I'm very excited. I even made this YouTube channel because of Avengers Doomsday, but I think I've yapped enough. Let me know in the comments down below, do you think that the MCU really is doomed, or do you think that they can still save it? Doombot out, and have yourself a happy Doomsday.